Hello, and today we're going to talk about how you can beat Rein Zarya with Rein D.Va. Rein Zarya is like probably the most common comp in ladder, but like in pro play, like when they play Brawl, they prefer Rein D.Va or sometimes Rein Sigma, but generally Rein D.Va. And why Rein D.Va over Rein Zarya? A lot of players ask me this, like, why Rein D.Va? Like, why, like, put a dive tank into a brawl comp? Like, why like not play Zarya? Like, Zarya can like do a lot of damage with high energy, has like the bubble, and yeah. And the answer really has to do with like two things. So let's first go over like Zarya. What does Zarya want? What is Zarya's like main strength? And like it has to do with the fact that like Zarya's a pretty weird like off tank in that like she's good in like longer fights, where she can build up energy and do damage preferably from an angle. But like in short fights, she's pretty much like useless except for like the bubble she gives to her Rein. Meanwhile, Rein D.Va, like the D.Va can have more consistent value. Like D.Va does the same amount of damage, like regardless of like she has like no energy mechanic. Zarya, like D.Va does like slightly more damage than Zarya, like when Zarya's at like no energy. And but most importantly, like D.Va has like the consistent value of defense matrix and the ability to like take angles and also contest angles. So and the reason why like D.Va is like preferred in like brawl like from by like the top level teams is because like D.Va is not only more consistent, D.Va is also like really good at like taking angles, putting pressure on angles and stuff, like controlling the map. Like brawl comps, like they're really weak at map control, but unlike a dive comp or a poke comp, which is really good at like splitting apart and taking angles, but like in brawl, like brawl isn't really good at it. But still, like the D.Va like gives you the like an ability to like at least like contest angles and like use those angles to maybe draw attention away, like have your Kree take angles. You can even have like Bap or Mei take angles, for example. But generally like these are the two safest bets. And like playing split apart like when you can sustain it is actually good. And why? Because it splits like apart the enemy like attention and like forces them to like choose whether to like clear like the angle. Like usually they will have to if they want to push hard, or like do they want to like push into your team and like risk like being killed by like risk like one of your backline dying to like a D.Va, or risk like your Kree shooting your for example your BAP for example, like, or like shooting your, in this case, Zarya, because Zarya is pretty squishy as well. How do you beat like Rein Zarya with Rein D.Va though? And like this is how like your team fight should be structured. So first, um, uh, at the beginning of the fight, you want to be able to bait and engage by like the enemy. Like it doesn't matter if you're on attack or defense. Like you just need to make it so that they bubble their Rein and then they can't push in. And so, for example, like you might have your D.Va take slight angles to like provoke the enemy into like pushing in. You can like push in a bit and then like don't want to like commit too hard if possible, but like you just want to like put a bit of pressure in the front line, and this will like bait the enemy team to just push into you. They're gonna like spend their bubble, they're gonna bubble their Rein, and then like they're just gonna push in. So like what do you do during this critical time? Well, you want your like core, which is usually going to be your BAP, your Lucio, like your other DPS, which is a Mei, other than like assuming that you're running Kree, which is like pretty much almost universal in Brawl, and like your Rein. You're just gonna have them kite back in like one direction, and you're not afraid to use cooldowns to like do this. You're not afraid to like use like your regen burst. Like if you need like to use a Mei wall, or like if you need to use Maywall, like absolutely, like you shouldn't have to, but like if you need to use Maywall or Ice Block, then like sure, go ahead. And like if you need to use Immor, for example, then that's fine as well. But the key is that like you just want to like kite back until like their bubble runs out, And like generally you won't have to use more than one cooldown to do so. Like oftentimes you don't even need to use cooldowns. Like a bubble engage, like unless like there's like significant pressure on the angle and like that's your D.Va's job, like that's why running D.Va is so good. D.Va can contest those angles. So like unless there's like pressure from the angle or like their Mei, for example, hits a really nice ice wall, like there isn't any incentive like for you to use like cooldowns anywhere like at all. Like you can just kite back and like go to the next corner or just like press S and then like look to like stabilize. And then like this is important. Like while like you kite back, you want like if your D.Va's not like doing this already, you want your D.Va to be like sneaking up past an angle. Like you want your Kree to like maybe say like look for angles. Like let's say like they push up, they use an ice wall and say hey like they can't isolate me on an angle anymore, so I'm gonna like look for like this angle for example, and like you just want like to like sneak up to the end, like sneak up on the sides of the enemy or like go like slightly behind the enemy. Like it depends on like where we have high ground. Like if we have high ground, it's safer to go like behind, but otherwise just look for an angle. But you just want to like find angles to like kite back to that are different from your core if you're like the Kree, for example, or if you're like the D.Va especially. So like the key here is like you want to make a trap. Like you want them to push in aggressively. You want their backline to like go up. If their backline doesn't go up, then you could possibly just run into the tanks and they'll die. Especially because Zarya without bubbles really squishy, or at least you'll force out a lot of cooldowns. But if the backline like moves up, then like they're going into your trap, and then like this is the critical part. So this is like the especially critical part. Like during the 8-second window, in which like the Zarya doesn't have bubble, you want to like push. You want to push in simultaneously. You want to like have your core push up a bit, and then like you want to like pursue the enemy front line. But while that's happening, you want to like have your D.Va go aggressive, have your Kree like peek and like shoot, like put some shots into the enemy backline while like your front line's pushing them. And this will do either one of two things. Like one, they will either like give a lot of space, which would allow you to like push onto point and start like contesting, and like you can look for angles from there because they gave a lot of space. You can like put your Kree on like really good angles, for example. Like on this point, there's probably not that good of an angle, but like you could actually, yeah, there is you could like go into this cafe, and then like you can have your D.Va push up a bit and then like look for an angle as well, like with the extra space. You still probably have to be careful because like if they have Mei wall, but like if you can find those angles, that would be really good. Or like they will just like stand and fight and they'll die because like you're shooting them in the back line. D.Va's putting a lot of pressure, and like their back line will just like buckle and die. So now let's say you do that, but like let's say your push fails, they use ultimates to sustain themselves. What do you do now? Like let's say the Zarya has like her next bubbles, and this is the critical part. So you still want your like tanks on angle, like D.Va like stacked with the core like doesn't do much against the Zarya, but like you just want to be first, you want to maintain your positions where you can like try to like punish, or like at least look for those positions where you can try to punish the engage. But more importantly, you need to like be able to like focus the Zarya as hard as possible. So like with high energy, Zarya's gonna look for angles, like maybe pressure out the off angles, because like that's the only opportunities that they're gonna get to pressure those angles. Or like they're just gonna take angles to do more damage. And in that case, you want to be like prepared to catch that. You want to be prepared in a position where you can like shoot the Zarya as she like takes the angle, force out her bubble early, force her to go back to her team. And like if she tries to bubble Rein, then of course you're gonna have to kite back. But like that doesn't mean like you can't like maintain your angles to like punish them for like pushing in. But like the thing is like you need to not only like kite back again as usual, like when they push with bubble, and then like if possible look to push in, but you also need to like focus the Zarya if she's especially dangerous. Like, forget about the Rein. Like, if like Zarya is like the bigger threat. If Zarya's at high energy, then you want to kill Zarya first. Zarya must die. Don't be afraid to use ultimates to, like, to secure the kill on Zarya. Like, ideally though, you want to win the fight before Zarya gets like the opportunity to build energy. So like in the first engage, preferably like when you kite back first, like first thing, like early fight, and then look to engage again, you want to go like really aggressive. You just want to like exploit the fact that like Zarya is basically like just like a damage bot when she has no bubble. And like she hasn't built like up to like 90 100 ridiculous amounts of energy. But like if you can't, like you just will have to like maintain the angles, like keep putting angle pressure on like the enemy team, which the Zarya can't really contest as well. And also you need to focus the Zarya if she's like at high energy. Like if Zarya's at high energy, you can, like, if you kill Zarya, then that's big. That's really big. So what if Zarya has Grav? And that's one of the advantages of Zarya. Grav is better than Bomb a lot of the time. So in this case, like, you can do one of two things. You can have your D.Va sit a bit closer to like your core and have her try like DM, and like DM lasts like 10 meter, has a 10 meter range, so you can have your D.Va still take slight off angles. Or you can like try to like bait like the Grav out and like have bait the engage, and then like look to like counter engage with like a bomb or like or even a high noon, for example. So like let me like cover how this will work. So like let's say you're Zarya Grass, but you decide you have beat and you decide, hey, we can just bait them in, like let them Grav. And then like let's say they Grav here, they want to push the Grav obviously. And like they're not gonna like want to launch the Grav at your D.Va because she can eat it. And like if your Kree is taking an angle, if you're worried about your Kree being grabbed solo, then like you can just have your Kree stack with your D.Va. That's fine as well. It depends on like what the Zarya's habits are. Like if you like observe her like during the game and you notice that she likes to solo grab, then you might decide to stack your Kree with your D.Va. But like in any case, like you want to bait in the Grav, and let's say you pop beat, and then like you're gonna put some pressure to like on the flank to like relieve it. You're gonna like shoot a bit, use a bit of DM, use your micro missiles, and yeah. But like once the Grav like expires, like once the Grav like is gone, you want to like counter engage the enemy and like bait them. And like once you bait them into your like core, you want to like get behind them, use ultimates to just like slaughter their backline. So like let's say you have a D.Va bomb and you let them push in and your team pops beat and possibly him more. Well, it doesn't matter because like the moment that this Grav expires, or like even just before, you throw the bomb behind, your team just pushes in with the remaining beat shield, boom, they're dead. Or they have to like pop so many like resources just to survive. And like if you have another angle, this would be especially good because like they'll just be like kiting back in a hurriedly. They won't have time to contest the angles because like they're running Zarya, they're not running D.Va. So yeah, like another thing is that like if they have Grav or even just like some type of win condition they're looking for, then you can look for a bait play if you have ultimates, and you can use like your D.Va to help you like control the angle. So you maybe like even without bomb, you can like have your Kree set up on the high ground and then look to high noon after like the Grav expires once your after your Lucio beats. So like yeah, the key here is like use your angle pressure as much as possible. Bait in like the enemy team, and yeah, this will make it easier. But let's go over like some possible counter picks against Rein Zarya, because like on some maps Rein Zarya is actually decent in that like there's no angles such as like Nepal Sanctum. Like there's no like meaningful angles, or like the angles are really hard to like access. But in this case, like what you want to do is like if you're really struggling with dealing with Rein Zarya, like let's say like their Zarya is like just really good, then like Rein Zarya like is extremely like counterable. So like if you play it right, then you can absolutely like make the Zarya like pretty much useless. But if that's not possible, then like you can look to like switch off like one of your heroes for like a hero that like can counter like the lack of angle presence and peel that Zarya has. So one really common pick is Doomfist, and why Doomfist? Because Doomfist, yeah, like wants to like stage on angles. Like Doomfist is kind of like is like kind of a dive hero almost, in that like he wants to like use flanks and then like look to like use those flanks to like engage on the back line without taking too much damage from the front line. So like with the Doomfist, what you could do is that you could like against a Rein Zarya, like your Doomfist basically can stage like for free, like only the like the Kree and maybe the BAP, or like if the Mei, but probably never the Mei, or almost never the Mei can seriously contest a Doomfist staging. But like you can exploit the fact that they don't have a D.Va. Like if they had a D.Va, they could just fly at you when you try to stage. But like without a D.Va, like it's free. It's free. So you just look to like stage at an angle, and then like afterwards you can like look for like engages where like your Doomfist slams in, your core moves in, and then your D.Va like helps matrix like the Kree stun, and like try to like capitalize on the attention that the Doomfist is putting on like the enemy backline. So like Doomfist is a really common tech pick against like comps like Rein Zarya that don't have any angle control, and like it works really well because like how are they gonna clear your Doomfist out? Your Doomfist is just gonna like get into the enemy team for free. So another tech pick is actually either Reaper, because Reaper like you can set up like behind the enemy. There's no D.Va to like poke you or clear you out, and no D.Va to matrix your shots. So okay, wrong color, wrong team color. I mean, so so you could look to that's Stray Farah. But anyways, like you could look to like if you're feeling like on some maps you could even try like run Farah, but like I wouldn't recommend running Farah with a brawl comp honestly. But like against Rein Zarya, Farah, if you're running like any other comp, then Farah can actually be a good pick because like it will like get the Zarya off the Zarya, at least if you're having trouble. And like Zarya can't defense matrix like any Farah shot, so or like not even shield off or like grasp in the case of Sigma. So Farah could be a good pick in some other comps, but in like a brawl comp, like you could run something like Reaper, which is not only brawly as well, like Doomfist, but can also like get behind the enemy, like lurk for free, and then like you can just coordinate pushes where like your Reaper like goes in and you go in from behind. And like if you don't really have a Reaper player like on your team, for example, then Tracer is actually a really acceptable choice. Like Tracer doesn't have the best damage, and like Tracer's like usually like requires like dive tanks to be like the most like impactful, but in any case like Tracer is fine if you don't want to if you want to replace Mei with something. Just that like you probably don't want to replace Mei with anything other than Doomfist, or like you can replace Kree with Reaper, which is fine as well. But like if Kree Reaper could be fine, but obviously like losing the Mei will be big. But anyways, another common tech pick is to like replacing the Kree, and Kree is like pretty good right now, obviously, but you don't really need the Kree like all that much. You don't really need like the higher HP pool and like of like the Kree all that much. Like Kree's still really good against Rein Zarya because it's free flashbangs basically once you bait out the bubble, but like if you can run something greedier, like something that has like that's usually like less impactful than maybe Kree, but like against a Rein Zarya, like something that can take like angles more and kind of like go for picks, that can be really good. So like a common pick could be Hanzo. Why? Because Hanzo can like go to high ground really easily, take really aggressive angles, and still escape. Like Hanzo has quite a bit of mobility, and like and also like Hanzo on the flank will like make it extremely like will make like the backline extremely paranoid. The backline won't be able to like the BAP will be like hugging cover as much as he can compared to like even a Kree because like Hanzo can one shot a 200 HP target, and also like with the Hanzo, like since they're running Zarya and not D.Va, they can't really contest the Hanzo. The Hanzo's like gonna have like free like angles, and if anyone tries to like contest the Hanzo, let's say a Kree, then you just have your D.Va fly up to the Hanzo, and then it's gonna be a 2v1. You can just go for like these mini quote unquote dives. So yeah, to summarize, to beat Rein Zarya, first, bait the engage in. Second, set up your angles. Third, look for engages where you can use your D.Va to like engage from an angle to help clear angles for your like up DPS to like use. And and like when they have grav, you can either like try to like eat the grav, which obviously, but you can also try like bait in the grav and then like try to like throw like ults behind once you have like once like your team's outside the grav, and you can just like push in from the angle, especially if you have an ult like beat, or like you can sustain yourself with Immor or wall. Like wall to block off like any to cut off the enemy team. And also like tech in terms of tech picks, common picks are Doomfist, Reaper, Tracer, anything that's really brawly and get behind, or you could go for like something like a Hanzo. Sometimes even a Widow could work, but Hanzo especially because Hanzo's like does a lot of damage like Kree, but like has a one-shot potential, and more importantly, like you don't really like need the higher HP pool of a Kree once like they're running Zarya, because they can't really contest you, nor do you need like the CC or like to sustain yourself. And Hanzo does have like quite a bit of mobility just in case. So yeah, if you're having trouble dealing with Rein Zarya, like I hope this video helped, and like may like you force the enemy Zarya to switch to D.Va, because that is like the superior pick. Like I don't know why some teams still run Rein Zarya when like they could just like literally just learn Rein D.Va and like get better results. Like no more flanks to worry about, like no more like no more having to worry about like solo flanks because your D.Va can contest it. No more like you actually don't have to like face every grab against like an enemy Zarya or like any enemy like Mei, like no more Blizzard that you have to worry about all the time because you have the chance to eat it. And like yeah, like D.Va also has like a lot of mobility, a lot of like ability to take space and like clear angles and clear high ground. And yeah, D.Va's just better, but like against Rein Zarya, if you just follow these tips, then it's gonna make it much easier to counter like Zarya. Anyways, peace.